did the same thing I did, which is the full qualifying send. So I have to send it a bit harder than normal, just so he wouldn't like pass me and slow me down. But still.
There's a 33.
337. You just hit the fastest.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So, this is going to be first lap, hot lap. Don't need to take the out lap particularly easy or hard. Your tires will be at temperature, and you won't have too much wear on them, so don't worry about it too much. So let's go straight to the run-up of turn 3 of your out lap. So, I don't like running the outside like this. I think that there's not enough grip out there. I don't like running the inside because you don't get a good angle off the corner. So what is just right is to start outside and then slowly make your way to about the middle line and then back up to the outside. So you want to do middle apex, but only to the middle groove. So you'll see what I mean right here. So I turn down, I get back to partial throttle as early as I can to maintain momentum. And then in the middle groove, I'm trying to straighten my wheel out as early as possible and go full throttle. Remember, no full throttle until you are in the process of straightening out your wheel, because it will get loose and you need to be able to control it. Okay, so that decent amount of speed could be better, could be worse. It's very important, like multiple tenths can be gained or lost off of your run up to the lap. So don't just be satisfied with a meh run up. Okay, so now we're going to go into turn 1 here. So my point for turn 1 is just after that one cone right there. You kind of drive past this one cone right here, and then you start turning down and braking. So remember, when you're turning and braking at the same time, you only want your brake to be about 20% at the maximum. So I'm aiming for my left wheels to be in between the yellow line and the first groove, and I want this to happen about halfway through the corner for me to hit this apex. So you see I'm aiming, a couple bumps there. Once you get through the bumps, that's how you know you can get through it back to the gas. So watch my throttle in correlation to me hitting bumps. Brake, 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 bumps, bumps, throttle. Right as I hit the bumps, I'm back on the throttle. The reason for that is if you throttle before the bumps, the bumps will straighten your car out a lot more than if you throttle after the bumps. So just make sure to throttle after the bumps and then full throttle, unload the wheel, and just try to drive it in a straight line up to the wall as much as possible. I very well could have done a line where I would like try to stay a little lower and then come up at the end, but that loses momentum if I slide my rears. My number one priority is to not slide the rear tires because these straightaways are so long. Any bit of momentum that you lose coming out of a corner will be felt for a very long straightaway. So I do the thing where I let my car wash up early as long as I'm not sliding my rear tires, and it works out in the end. Okay, so driving down this straightaway, coming to turn 2. Turn 2 I'm not super duper consistent with. It is a very hard timing to hit. But basically what I do is I start turning in before I brake. I want to brake and hit the apex about halfway through. Left's right on the yellow line. And then once I hit that yellow line, the moment I hit it, I want to be on the throttle. So you see, I actually throttle up slightly before the yellow line. I want to be on the throttle by the time I hit the yellow line. And then that'll hopefully get me loose. It's very, the line between getting tight in turn 2 and being loose in turn 2 is very, very thin. But in general, you want to turn down, brake until you're almost at the yellow line, then throttle through it back up to the wall. And then hopefully this will keep your car rotating. Okay, take a look at that one more time. Brake down to the yellow line, throttle a little bit through it, get the car on the right rear, get it a little loose, drive it back up to the wall, use every inch that you have given to you, and survive the corner. Very hard to hit in practice, but some people are better at it than others, and some people are a lot better at it than me. All right, turn 3. There are 2 ways you can approach this in a hot lap. I like the early entryway because it most mimics your race line. You can also do a huge dive bomb and transfer immediately from heavy brake to throttle, but I like entering really early. See how I am partial throttle driving down to the yellow line? I start dragging my brake right as the curb starts transitioning. So right when this kind of yellow line starts appearing, I like transitioning to a brake drag, then driving it down to where my left wheel almost hits this point right here where the curb starts. I want my left wheel to be there, and then the moment I hit my left wheel there, I start driving up to the wall and full throttling. It's a very weird line. It doesn't seem like this is how you should be driving Pocono, but in these cars that don't necessarily have the most horsepower, they're pretty momentum based, you want to simplify this corner as much as possible. You want to get on the gas as early as possible. So the way to do that is to brake drag early, and then get back onto partial throttle early, and then get back ultimately onto full throttle early. So this just looks wrong, but I assure you that this is the fastest method that I have found so far. This same exact line can kind of be made a little more aggressive. Like you could throttle all the way to like here, and then really stab the brakes and then get back on the throttle here. But it's just a little more inconsistent. The car will be pointed in a semi-random direction at that point, whereas this line right here is extremely consistent. The car will always be pointed exactly where you think it's going to be pointed. And then you see it's actually a lot of momentum too, because we make the early entry and enable you on the throttle early, that is going to get us time not only in the corner, but all the way down the back stretch and get us to a good lap time. All right, now let's go talk about the long run. All right, let's talk about long run and do some laps here. So there is a small chance that you'll need to shift on the long run in turn 1. I don't think I will. I tried it out. I think if you get the revs that low, it's probably not worth it. If your car is just ungodly tight into one at the end of the race, then maybe. But if you follow these steps, then I don't think that's going to be an issue for you. So what we're going to really be focusing on are lines that allow us to turn the wheel as little as possible. If you've seen any of my tire saving videos, you know that that's very important. So let's see how we attack that. So we're just coming to our first lap here, but I'll say for turn 3, you don't want to overdrive the corner. Turn 3 is one of the easiest corners in all of oval racing to overdrive. So just because you can drive it deep doesn't mean you should drive it deep. And I'll show you why next time we come around. All right, so turn 1 here, I'm going to do a big, slightly late arc, but still getting on the brakes just after the 1 cone. Just bring it all the way down, letting it roll a little bit, partial throttle. Then once the car starts rotating on its own, full throttle, and then just drive the car all the way back up the track on its own. It'll be plenty of momentum for you, and it won't be abusing the right front tire at all. This is going to be a right front burning track just because of the nature of this setup. Turn 2, a little bit easier. Not trying to push everything, not going full throttle until right as we get to the end of the corner. And then turn 3, we are going to let off the gas partially early, then just drag brake down to the bottom, and pick up the throttle and just drive it straight off the corner. You see, I don't have to do anything besides unload the wheel. If you overdrive the corner, you're gonna have to make some sort of diamond, lots of wheel input, then the car's gonna snap loose on you, it's just gonna be really ill handling and bad on the tires, and guess what, it's not even that fast. So I'll show you one more time all this again. Big arc down here. Throttle partial, hold it, start unloading the wheel as we start to rotate on the throttle, and drive it off the corners comfortably. Really aiming for those sub 56 times, but not trying to get too low. Drag brake into the corner, hit the yellow line, very important, and then full throttle off the corner, try to build momentum. Definitely lost a little bit of time taking that pretty conservatively. You can definitely send that a little harder. Don't overdrive this corner, get it all the way to the curb, then pick up the throttle, unload the wheel, drive it straight off the corner. All on the right rear. Beautiful. So the changes that will be happening as the long run keeps going is you'll have to back up your turn 1 a little bit, arc it, you'll have to stand the brake a little bit more for it to get down, then you pick up and maybe you have to hold the partial throttle slightly longer. You really just want to wait until that car starts rotating on its own before you force the full throttle, or else you're going to push up all the way to the wall. Turn 2 is going to change a ton as the run goes on. You're not going to be able to send it quite as much, and I just kind of like getting to the bottom as early as possible. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, but just getting to the bottom, not being super duper fast, is better than completely missing the bottom. And then never overdrive turn 3. Always get it to the beginning of the curb, pick up the throttle, and drive it straight off. This line should work for you the entire race. There's no reason that it shouldn't work as long as you aren't overdriving the entry. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, leave them down below, and we will go check our tires here, just on the few laps that we did, just to make sure that we're burning them evenly, just to show that that is the line that you want to do to burn tires evenly. And let's see, 98, so only a few laps, but we're doing really well in those few laps to keep the tire wear even, so just something to consider. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.